Hey, yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to episode number 11 of Marvel Yap, where today we're going to be going over our OTA hopes. We are also going to be talking about a tier list of all of the Season Pass cards ever. We're going to talk about Toxin for a little bit as well. And then we are also going to go over all of the game modes that have ever been in Snap and give some pros and cons on each. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, we are joined with the hostest with the mostest, notmydance. How are you doing today, Dance?
I'm doing good. What is it? Snap's at least been fun. It's been a great time. I'm a little sore. I went rollerblading yesterday, and my back is sore. My tailbone's sore from falling.
Oh no.
Yeah. But otherwise, other than that, I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing good. I think we were talking about this earlier. We just got back from a baby shower. We were back in Georgia for a little bit this weekend. You know, got to talk to my mom about the baby. She's super excited.
Tucker and Amber, not me. I wasn't invited for some reason to this baby shower.
Yeah, Amber and I, not me and Dan. One day. But it was a great time. Of course, you got to watch some football and stuff too. Dance and I were also talking about this too before we started recording and everything. I think roller blading is harder than roller skating. I think the whole balance you have with four wheels, I think, is easier than the four wheels, like a car, kind of more horizontal, opposed to four wheels inline. I think is easier than the blading.
I 100% disagree, and I've tried roller skating with the four wheels like a car before, and I cannot do it for the life of me. I suck even more at that, but I can ice skate at least decently. So
okay,
I was trying to do it. I was going yesterday, and you have the option between roller skates, roller blades, and I was talking about how it's more difficult for me to do it the other way. And my brother was like, "Well, then why don't you just roller blade instead?" And I looked at him like he was an idiot. And it was easier, but I still fell on my butt a lot. So what is it? It was. Yes, it may have been easier, but also no. Now I'm still in pain from that. And it was one of those places. It was one of those older like roller skate rinks that was like probably really popular back in the 70s, like 80s, 70s. Like it was the jam. It would have been in Stranger Things. But nowadays it's like older. It's slightly not in a good area of town. There's no AC.
Oh
so
no.
It was so rough for a lot of that stuff. It was what is it? It was difficult in that front. So that's a whole other aspect of the rollerblading, skating, whatever, that was difficult. But yeah, I've come to the conclusion because of it that I personally think that I like the blades more, because I think it feels more akin to like having, I don't know, like just extensions to my two legs, where if it just is like a singular line of wheels, I have to because you have to turn your leg, right? You have to like do this whole like little like thingy with it where you're it's bending weirdly. And when I use the roller blades, you have to do that, but then then your feet have to be straight in order to use the blade or the skates correctly. And I can't, it just doesn't compute with me at all. So then the blades just being like, this is as much balance as you're going to get here, but this is how much balance you're meant to have here. I don't know. It's weirder, but I guess it's different. I don't know. I also have a horrible sense of balance anyway.
It's probably
my friends used to say that
balance issue. But you said you're also used to ice skating, which if you're used to ice skating, it makes more sense that you like the blading more than just the other ones. So
yeah, it's a lot easier there. I feel like I don't know. It feels just a lot smoother as well. And also I don't feel like, again, like I was talking about, there's like no AC, and I'm in Colorado, so we get to ice skate. And when we ice skate, it's actually cold, but then you can get warmer, but then it's still a cold environment. So it balances itself out. And I love that vibe of like the balance between like, okay, hey, I'm getting tired, I'm feeling really hot, but in general, you cool back down a lot quicker. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, down here in Florida, we don't really get snow like that, so I don't
what do you mean snow like that? You could have just said snow.
No, or snow, yeah. We don't even get snow. We don't get any of that. It doesn't really get cold down here. Amber would disagree with me, but it just doesn't happen. But I'm excited for the winter. I hope it's a cold winter. I know, like I said, like it doesn't get cold down here, but I hope I can maybe put on a hoodie or something. Maybe.
I've been wearing sweaters, I've been wearing hoodies for a while. I love it. It feels so much more comfortable. I had to turn on the heat today in my house. I don't even know if you have that over where you live.
We have heat, but I'm like, please don't turn it on.
Yeah, we had to turn it on, I think, yesterday because it just started getting cold around here. We got full fall colors. Everything's in bloom. A lot of really it's just gorgeous. Almost as gorgeous as the OTA is going to be that's coming up.
Oh my goodness. Speaking of OTA, well, first, before we get an OTA, we have this Venom variant, which I think may be the best animation in the game. I know it's kind of it's a little subtle, variant. But like there's no variant that's just like he's literally slamming his hands on the table. Like nothing does that.
It's different.
Yeah.
I love that. No, I think it's one of the best variants. It's just because of that bit where like yes, we have little animations in the past, but it never feels honestly animated.
Yes.
Right? But that little bit does feel so extremely animated. So this variant's actually become my top one because that's going to be my new custom card, and I think it's going to be yours as well because it just looks so dang good.
Yeah, I freaking love it. I've also, after getting the variant from Venom, I did solidify that I am Venom complete. I have every single Venom variant in the game, so that was good to note. But
do you have every single Venomized variant in the game?
No.
Fake fan. Can't believe it. Fake fan.
No. But you want to lead off with what you kind of either want or think is going to be hit with the OTA on Thursday.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Before though, because we're going to keep it distracting. So what we're actually talking about, we're going to be starting with our hopes, our predictions, what we'd like to see in the OTA. We're saying hopes instead because there are predictions, and I think there's a prediction we're going to talk about today that's not going to be occurring, and I think we know that, but we still would like it to occur. Then we're just going to talk about, I think, just the game modes in general, especially with high voltage just wrapping up, I think, in a couple days here. It's been a really interesting game mode, and it's been a fun one to talk about. So we're going to try to talk about this. We're talking about Deadpool's Diner, Conquest, and Ladder, just of the 4 current game modes that we have messed with inside of Marvel Snap. Our thoughts on each, the pros and cons of each ones, and what they do for the game and what they don't do for the game right now. And I think that's gonna be a fun one. And last but not least, we're gonna do a tier list, something we haven't done before, a full tier list of every single season pass card. And it's not gonna be the way they currently are today. It's gonna be all of them the way that they were released, which is gonna be a very interesting conversation. We'll also be Surtur, the data mined season pass card for next season, which is that in 2 weeks from today, right? 2 weeks?
2 weeks. Oh no, yeah, because today is Toxin, next Tuesday is Anti-Venom, and then the following. So yeah, 2 full weeks, which is crazy.
That's crazy. We're only 2 weeks away from the next season. There's so many cards. We'll be talking about all those, every single season pass card, and there are 30 of them, we have learned. 30 season pass cards in total, which is crazy. But yeah, we'll be talking about all of that. But first, let's talk about our hopes for the OTA. So, all right. You want me to start us off here?
Yes, you start us off.
Okay. So I'm on some copium here for a few of these changes, but I still like the ideas. I still like the concept behind these changes. And so when I'm discussing them, forgive me, whatever. But I'm going to say, and I'm cheating immediately, I'm going to talk about Mjolnir and Stormbreaker.
Okay.
And what is it? Yeah, we can show off the brand new Mjolnir that is now in the game. Oh God, you got that gold crackle too. Oh, this guy. Yeah. So here's the thing right now. Both the Thor, Beta Ray Bill, all that whole deck it struggles. It's not a great deck, and I want that to be better. And I think a simple thing you can do for that is make Mjolnir, make Stormbreaker better. These are powerful artifacts, powerful things inside of Marvel Universe. Mjolnir is insane. So is Stormbreaker. They both should be stronger, I think. I think you add a point of power to each.
Oh, really?
As simple as that. I think you make Mjolnir a 0-1 and Stormbreaker a 0-2.
So it makes Mjolnir like Wasp, but of course you still have to draw it. And then Yellow Jacket for Stormbreaker.
Mm-hmm. And I think, honestly, that's fair. And I also don't even know if it's going to change that much because I think Misery, we also do know Misery is going to be hit in this OTA. We know she's going to go to a 4-8. And maybe it's going to not work with that as much, but I do think that's going to be another really good combination. And also, part of the reason I'm going to say this is because, again, with the Surtur season coming out, that's a lot of Asgardian cards.
Yep.
And those cards are going to want to be used. There's going to be a reason for that, and I want to see Thor and Beta Ray Bill be a lot more used. Currently, for what it's worth, they're both at least a positive cube rate, which is nice on that front. But the popularity for them is 0.9 for Thor and 0.6 for Beta Ray Bill. Neither one's doing great. I want to see them get love, and I don't think you can buff the base card of either one of those two. And I think it makes sense for these both to be good. I could easily see both of them being a 0-2, honestly. But I don't. I just want these. I want their things that they summon to become better. I don't know the correct way to say it, the correct way to do it, but I think both of the hammers becoming better is a completely fair ask.
I think that's reasonable. I think the main reason their play rate is down is just because of the amount of Cosmo everywhere. I think that really hinders a lot of stuff, especially when it comes to the shell. Cosmos everywhere, Elias everywhere, and it doesn't feel like they have, like you said, enough power to truly scale across, the decks that are the most popular right now. And I think that's definitely one of the issues. I don't hate the idea of them getting that extra power. I would love to see some more Hitmonkey hammer stuff too, potentially.
I'd be down. Yeah. And also, I really want to, going back to the other card that you had just shown, there's the brand new Mjolnir, and it looks so cool, and I want to use it, and I tried, and it's not good at all, unfortunately. I want to be able to use this, and why do I lose a lane that I put Mjolnir in? That doesn't make sense. You're telling me Mjolnir is stronger than a Quinjet, okay? Like, hard stop. At least, give it something. It doesn't need to just work with Thor. Give it something, come on.
That's a fun idea. I think, especially going into like the season, I feel like they normally do like buff cards that are like pertaining to the theming. Like they changed Agatha to not work, on odd turns before the show came out to kind of inspire more of that usage. I don't hate it.
Yeah, I said it was a more wild card idea because it's. I don't think anyone talks about these two cards. Again, I'm talking about Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, but like I want to use them. I think they're cool, but. I don't know. What do you got here? Let's save that. We could save the biggest bit of hopium for the end. But what do you got beforehand?
Before that, honestly, so like, I know people have talked about this card for ages, right? People have talked about Elektra, but I would love if they finally did a change to Elektra and made her like a 2/1, destroy 1 2-cost card here.
Interesting. So you just make it so she destroys just a 2-cost card, so like a counter to Daredevil, right?
Yeah.
I don't hate that. I honestly, if you said something, I would have expected you to be like a 3-cost card that destroyed a 1 or a 2. When I thought about that,
either or function would be cool.
I am down in general. I don't care what. Elektra's a great card. I think this is one of the cards that has too many dang good variants.
Oh my gosh.
And like, yeah, you can scroll through. You look at all this stuff he's got over on the side. Too many dang good variants, and not enough of them are useful. Yeah, baby variant. Really, that's the one you're gonna go with. Okay, never mind. No, he's hitting it with the pixel. I mean, come on. It's a great one. Seriously. No, she is a absolutely killer character, killer card. I would love as well. I'm down. No. These are easy hopes. I love the fact these are hopes and not predictions. Yes. I feel like a lot of these won't happen, but I love the hope. I love this hope. It's good. It's good. What is it? So I've been playing a lot of high voltage, and you know what card has been really popular in high voltage that I did not expect to see a return of? Morph.
Okay.
Now, if they're gonna make it so he's just good in high voltage, this really specific game mode, sure. Okay, I guess that's what we can live with. But you know what? I kind of want it to be. You keep the same theme. Maybe it has to be a higher cost, but make it the leftmost card in your opponent's hand, which typically is the most expensive card. Sometimes it's not, but it honestly could also give you some fun other uses with Ham as well. Even I don't know. In general, I want this. I think this card could be cool, and I think you just make it into the leftmost card. Just give it a targeted ability. The randomness really makes it miss a lot of the time, and it's still going to be bad against a lot of the decks you're playing against. But you just make it the leftmost card, and it becomes consistent at least in that bit, and you can downside the roughness of it with like a ham or something like that to figure out if you even want those stats. You just get a lot more options there, and I like it.
Leftmost would be really interesting. I think it would add a new breath of life to the card. I wonder if you do have to increase the cost though with it being targeted.
Yeah, I was thinking you might have to make it like a 4 cost with that. I don't know. I'm not gonna sweat that. Maybe. But you know what? It sucked for so long. I think if I'm looking at the win rates on ladder for what it's worth, this has the lowest win rate, except for Martyr currently, is what I'm looking at my stats.
Really?
Which Martyr's objective is to lose you the game. So Morph only being better than the card that tries to lose you the game is a very low bar. So I'm down for it to get a buff. Like, I don't know how much that's going to be, if it's going to be great, bad, whatever. I like the idea.
Okay, I don't hate it. But he might just have to cost a little bit more, but that would be interesting if it did target it. Kind of like most cards are starting to target once again. I mean, Swordmaster just got changed recently. Moon Knight got changed. Maybe.
Yeah.
I got a crazy one. I think I've talked about this before.
Okay.
But I would really love for the Ebony Blade to go back to can't have its power reduced.
I didn't even think it was that strong then. I don't know. I'm fine with that. This is an easier sell. I don't feel like it was that great.
Yeah.
Even no, like it was a fun deck, but
Zabu was just good. That's what it was.
Yeah, Zabu was good. It wasn't a busted deck, and it wasn't a busted card, I don't think. It was difficult to deal with, but legitimately, we do now have, like, Red Guardian, which just counters the card entirely if you really want to deal with that. Or, what is it? Or you can, I guess Elias doesn't change anything there still. I don't know. In general, I like this change. I'd be fine with that. I don't know if it has to be busted. You've got the brand new Maria Wolf variant, by the way. Let's not forget about that. Absolutely gorgeous Maria Wolf Black Knight variant that just came out yesterday with the gold border, gold back, gold crackle, and yes, that's gold cosmic board as well. So Tugger went all in here, and I love it.
I love Black Knight, so that was
it's actually a really good one.
Take.
Yeah, no, that's a really good variant too. Sorry, I'm distracted by that. But I'll talk about my spiciest take potentially, and I think it's going to be one that I hope you disagree with, and I think a lot, and I think comments will disagree with this as well. I want Cosmo to go to a 4/5. I'm not gonna lead up to it.
What?
Yeah. I think the good boy's really good, and I think he's too good. I think he becomes like a more powerful card. I'm down with that. I like it. But I think at a 3 cost, I don't enjoy the way it currently works right now inside of the best deck in the format. I think a lot of Cosmo is really annoying. And I think it's going to impact Toxin that we'll talk about here in a bit. But I expect that Cosmo is going to be very difficult, and I think you should get less value from the card itself. That's why I want you to maybe get more power on it, but it is a harder card to play. You can't just put it on 3.
I mean, Cosmo to me is just a meta dependent card. Kind of like he's so popular right now because there was so much honor reveal going on. There was a lot of Hela, there was a lot of bounce, so it was like a necessary evil, and it felt good at 3 cost. Like, I don't think you need to change Cosmo at all. I think he's good as is. He's just super popular right now in that mid-range shell that everyone's playing it. Like when we were in the tournament, like this past weekend, everyone was playing the Agent Venom list, and I don't think Cosmo necessarily was the issue. I think the next card we're talking about is more of the issue.
That's fair. I'll say that card that we'll talk about here in a second has a higher popularity rate than Cosmo, but Cosmo is currently above 16% popularity. That's a lot.
Now that deck, okay, what is the popularity of that deck?
The popularity of that deck itself, I'll pull it up. Let me see this. I actually don't have that.
Both iterations of it.
Yeah. Let me pull this. Would that be in matchups when I look at this stuff? Sorry, I should have probably.
No, if you go to decks on Untapped, it should show you the top. It'll show you tier 1, which it'll be tier 1, and then it'll be 2 different iterations of it.
I think that deck is apparently not the number.
Oh, really?
Is it? It's not number 1. That deck, what is it? Is number 2 in terms of popularity currently.
Mm-hmm.
And
is Airship number
then
1?
number, what is it? It is actually Classic Destroy.
Oh.
We're going last week. Infinity to remove bots from inflation. In terms of raw game count, Destroy is the most popular. And I will say this, by the way, I think the game is at its healthiest when Destroy is the best.
Yes, I agree.
Because it is a deck that is just trying to do big numbers, and that's it. Which means that if you can do big numbers in Destroy, then counters to that deck exist. Very easy counters to exist. Yes. Armor exists. Cosmo does exist. And then that just means that those counters aren't everywhere. It's not a tech card meta either, right?
Yeah.
So I will say I like that. But yeah, the Agent Venom deck is currently right below it in terms of how many games, again, last week. Yeah. But I will say, what is it? The win rate between them is 53% win rate for Destroy. And then let's just talk about the most problematic card here, because the Cosmo was a bit of a hot take because of the real card that I know you want to talk about, so I wanted to give it to you. Because the Agent Venom deck is at 60% win rate with only 100 less games, by the way. And also, like I said, he has 18.5% popularity, only beaten by Blade and Shang-Chi. Blade being a top card is fair. I don't mind that. It's good in Hela, good in Discard. It's an easier one, I think.
Blade, really?
Yeah. Blade has a 19% popularity right now. And I think part of that, though, is because Scorn came out last week.
Yes, that's very true.
So I think it's partially because of that, so I don't want to say too much there. But then Shang-Chi is at 20% right there. But Agent Venom is at 18. So I don't know. Yeah, go. You say your idea for this card. I wrote something down, but I want you to take this.
So, Agent Venom. The only change I make to Agent Venom is make him a 3/4.
3 cost. Okay.
So it's 3 less draws. And it's just on curve, Agent Venom giving you 4 extra draws later into the game is really good. Of course, the counter argument is like, well, Pixie, has all of this, but the difference between like a Pixie situation and an Agent Venom situation is Pixie is completely random, and like you don't know what the cost of cards is going to be when you draw them. Agent Venom, every single card you're going to draw is going to have 4 power.
Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, that's it. I hadn't heard of the 3 cost. I was. So I will say a minor thing. I had said I was writing 2/1, honestly. Okay. But I actually think I agree with you more so that I like the 3 cost. I think he'd feel cleaner at 3. I think he'd make the decks worse, not just because obviously he'll cost more, but I think a lot of those decks have a specific thing they would like to do on turn 3.
Yes. And
making it Agent Venom is really good. And I don't think it would remove 3 draws. I only think it removes 1 draw, right? From the actual thing, what you would do?
I'm saying like you don't, you only draw 3 cards is what I'm saying instead of drawing 4.
Got it,
cards.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought you said 3 less, my bad. Okay, yeah. No, 100%. I actually love the idea of it being a 3 cost. And this is, do you want to talk about why we've called this section Hope more so than Predictions? You want to break that part down real quick?
Well, if we look at it fundamentally, or what happens every single season, if the new card, the season pass card, is not performing well, they buff it during the season to sell more season passes. But if the season pass card is performing well, they do nothing to it until the next season. So that is why this is a hope. Probably not going to happen this OTA. It probably won't happen until next season. But I mean, you want to sell as many season passes as possible. I totally get it. It just feels bad.
I will say I think one of the things that feels honestly fairest about Agent Venom, one of the reasons I feel like I don't hear as many people clamoring for it as in comparison to like when Loki's season was a thing. And even if you go really far back to like the Surfer season or whatever, right? I think the reason that we're not hearing as much stuff here is that it doesn't feel as unfair.
Yeah.
This card being a 2/4 does not feel as unfair. And I think when you look in the past at a 2 cost, a 4 power typically means it has a downside of some sort. And when, right? Like that's supposed to be the point.
Yeah.
When we've looked at it in the past, right? The only other ones that we've had, I think, it was Colleen Wing, right? And Cloak, because both players can move there. Colleen Wing discards card from your hand, and I guess even kind of Mysterio, but I don't know.
Even old Medusa used to be a 2/4.
Yeah, right. Well, Medusa used to be a 2/4. Forgot about that. So all of those cards existing as 2/4s used to be, you had to do specific thing. You had to be really careful with this. But all of a sudden, Agent Venom being a 2/4, like, that's just, it's, what is it? We were talking about this earlier as well, right? Where it feels like, yes, in the past, we've maybe had some good, like, what is it? Some cards that feel like they're cheating in terms of how much energy they're putting down, all this other stuff. Agent Venom, I think, is the first real time where we've had a power cheating card enter the game. And no one's complaining about it because, again, it just, maybe it's something secondaries are going to release more cards that power cheat because they don't feel as bad when you're playing against them, I think.
Yeah, the only person that did talk about this was Philip. We are reading your comments, Philip, and we appreciate you commenting on all the yaps. You were like, because you said Agent Venom is a problem that we weren't talking about it because we were so happy about the card. You actually mentioned this last week, and you may have mentioned it even the week before.
Yeah.
But
no,
I heard you.
I remember that. Yeah, no, it was a good point. I think and I think Philip's correct there, and I think that's just a correct statement. I think this is again, it's weird to even call this the problem card because I don't feel bad about this card.
Right.
But it is this. If we look at the best decks in the format, what they can run, what they are running, I think this is one of them. I do think too much Cosmo is also a bad thing for the meta. And that's part of the reason why I still was willing to talk about that, and I wanted to talk about that there. But this card, Agent Venom, I think is the best season pass card we've had in a few months, I want to say even, because it is just so good, and it does the power cheat. It does exactly what you want it to do, and it's not a detriment.
Yeah,
yeah, I like it.
I totally agree, and I think that's what we got for the hopes of the OTA. We didn't have a long list. We had a couple different, like a few cards because these next couple segments are going to be a little bit longer. So the next segment we actually are going to be going over is going to be the pros and cons of the modes, which Dance was talking about earlier. We did just have high voltage. I believe it is actually going to end tomorrow, or it's going to end on Thursday, I think.
Yes.
Looking at the timeline, of course, here, the time recording, this is Monday, but time the video releases.
He's now outed when we record. I'm so upset with Tucker. Can't believe it. We don't record this 6 o'clock in the morning, exactly when it goes like.
Yep.
Oh, we've been outed.
Yep.
No, but seriously, this is, Do you want to start? You want to start with high voltage here? Do you want to start here?
This has been a breath of fresh air. I really enjoyed the shortness of the games. Yes, people are playing Goliath. Yes, people are playing, Shang-Chi, Shadow King, whatever. But, you're still trying to win. But, at the end of the day, okay, I just got Goliath, but I did get to drop, 3/6 cost this game anyways. I still had a lot of fun. It just felt like bounties were easier to do in a sense too, because you're just having fun and it's not having to play an entire game of either proving grounds or just ladder to be able to do stuff. People were messing around with negative, and now, you know what? I'm going to play Wiccan and get Wiccan down on turn 1. Just being able to mess around with all sorts of different energies. It felt like a breath of fresh air, and I would love for this to be a permanent mode in the game. Maybe not even just having crazy good rewards, because I still think these are good rewards. You got a new card, you got an awesome Iron Man variant, but even if it was just for missions for credits or missions for even boosters, I think this would just be fun to play normally instead of just playing Ladder of Conquest.
No, I agree. I mean, what is it? If we're gonna talk about the pros of this game mode, I think one of my personal favorites, because I agree with what you're saying, I think one of my personal favorites is the fact that this is the first casual game mode we have had in Marvel Snap.
Yes.
You are not punished for losing. What is it? The closest thing we've had to a casual game mode thus far is Proving Grounds, where you don't lose anything when you lose.
Yes.
In Ladder, you lose rank when you lose. In Deadpool's Diner, you lose bubs when you lose. In what is it called? In Conquest, you lose whatever ticket that you've grinded for if you're not doing Proving Grounds. In this, when you lose, you just don't get 20 volts.
Yep. And there's no cooldown timer either.
No. And that's one of the, feels incredibly refreshing to have a purely casual game mode that. And I know the only thing I might say that I might be maybe disagree with is that when people are saying that they want the rewards to be better, I disagree. If you make rewards better, I think it can't be casual.
Yeah.
And I think you have to put some intensity in this, something else like that, that's going to really probably impact probably the enjoyment of this game mode.
Yep.
And I don't want that. So I don't want there to be better rewards. I don't really want any of that stuff here. The most I would say is maybe boosters. Maybe throw us some boosters every 1,000 you go over volts. I don't even care. I don't care about that. It doesn't matter to me because I think the actual game mode itself feels so fresh and so chill. And I will say one of my immediate pros here is just, yes, this is purely a casual game mode, and I love that.
And I think
what are some other pros you got here? Yeah.
I think, honestly, the missions were very easy to complete. Like, I feel like you didn't have to spend any gold and you got the card in like 3 or 4 days. Like, you're just playing the game to complete the missions every reset, and you're just naturally going to be able to get the card. I think that's really good. Like, with the diner, it felt like I have to grind this. I have to wait to have the bubs. I can't play this game mode until this happens. Like, it felt just way more of a hassle. Of course, you had win trading you could do with people as well in the diner, but, like, still, this felt, like you said, I think the whole casual aspect of this game mode made this fun again. Because even if you are just testing decks in ladder, it feels like, well, I can't test this now. And honestly, really looking at it, like further breaking this down, the pro of high voltage is 3 cards that were banned. That felt like okay that they're banned, but the locations that were not enabled, I think really is what helped bring the extra like life to this, not having to worry about that horrible RNG happening for you.
Yeah. No, that was really nice as well. I love that. I also, I also think it's even different, right, to even talk about the cards a little more. I think another pro about this game mode was that this is the first game mode we've had where you can't, like every other game mode, you can probably use the same deck in any of these places and you'll be fine. This is the first game mode where you can specifically build for this game mode. And a deck you might build for normal ladder, for normal conquest, for normal Deadpool's Diner, those decks are those are incredibly different decks. And I think I love that fact about this. And I think that's something really cool here. I love the fact that I can put, Wiccan in my deck and just play it on turn 1 because I can. Why not? Right? I think I will say, actually, in terms of the missions, I think that was the most annoying mission, to spend 20, 15 energy in a match. I ran Wiccan. I never had a problem with those, but I know a lot of people did. It's just like, yeah, I think that was just I think that is one of the best parts about this. I think that it just felt incredibly clean to be able to do something different and not play the game the same way that I do everywhere else.
Yeah. I agree.
I got one more pro with this game mode as well, by the way. I would say.
Yeah,
I have one more.
Keep going with your pros.
Okay. My last pro that I want to say, at least in terms of this game mode, is that, and this is maybe one that's more specific for me. I think you might have this. I know other people have had it. This fulfills my ADHD 100%. Like I love it because it feels like it purely feeds into my ADHD and it makes it so a quick game mode, quick reactions, stuff like that is something that I really enjoy. And to move away from the ADHD stuff, right? If you're playing on ladder, the game can still take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, honestly, because of certain locations or people roping or whatever. And in this game mode, this is a certified way to make sure this is not going to be a long game. That's it. This will be over very quickly, and that's it. And that is fine. And I love that. And I think that is another aspect of this game mode that I think I really enjoyed, being able to just get quick games out and have a lot of fun with them. And like I said, just play a game on a toilet and then leave. And I'm not like actually sitting there like waiting for the whole thing to happen, having my legs go numb. You know that red mark you get there, you know? Have you ever had that before when you're like leaning forward and then you see that and you're like, oh, I've been doing this for too long. I need to actually do. What is it? Sorry, TMI. But anyway, I really enjoy it. I think it's been a lot of fun. I think it's been, the quickness of it all. It just feels so nice.
Yeah, and I think honestly, maybe this is crazy. I don't have like a really upfront con of this game. Maybe it is that before this released, we had tokens for one of the rewards, and we didn't get any tokens. We actually got credits instead. Maybe that's the con, or like it didn't tell you just on the thing itself how many credits you have to click on it to see how many credits you actually get. Maybe that's my card just on the reward track. But honestly, I think this was just a game mode we needed. It brought a lot of fresh air. I think it was great to have during drops too, to have people just involved in that sense. But I don't really have anything that really stuck out to me too much for con-wise, just on this aspect.
That's fair. I think my largest con I had with this was, if you go back one screen for me, my largest con I have with this game mode is this right here. We have, if you look up at the if you're watching right now, you can see this. If you're just listening, I'll describe it. In the top row, you have all the game modes listed there. You have Conquest, High Voltage, and Friendly Battles. And after you finish a round of High Voltage, you go to, it puts you on this screen for a second rather than putting you in the High Voltage screen. Yeah. My largest con with this game mode is that, and I think that should be remedied with, on that screen, there's a little button right next to the play button, go back in, to let you see your rank. That rank button shouldn't give you any rank things. If anything, that should let you choose which game mode you play in. That should be a button that says, rather than having like Friendly Battles, Conquest, High Voltage, Depth Center, all these lists on the top of the screen, right down there, you put down the opportunity to choose which game mode you want to play in. Oh. You have the choose your deck on the left side of the play button, and choose the game mode you're playing in on the right side of the play button. That is my largest complaint about this game mode, is that it feels tacked on inside of the mobile and especially the PC port because of those like repeatedly queuing into ladder bits. I think this game mode has proven to me that I really want better control over which game mode I am playing in. And I think this screen is the best one for it. You could still put like an informational card in there, or an arrow that lets you either see the rewards you haven't claimed from ladder, the Conquest shop you haven't visited yet, the high voltage rewards, I don't know, all those things could exist in there, but the main part of that should just be choose your deck on the left, choose the game mode you're playing on the right, and then you hit play in the middle, and it makes so much sense.
I honestly would be down for a UI change. Like in that situation. I don't think the UI of Snap is bad. I just think in that situation, having a new game mode and having access to it.
Yeah,
I do actually.
Nice cat you got there, by the way. Sorry. Yeah, I think they agree as well. No, I think, but that is my biggest con with this game mode. I think it just proves the fact that it proves the fact that I think we need a UI update with that front. And I mean, side rant, you can talk about how a lot of the screens inside of Marvel Snap are just mobile ports. Yes. Again, the High Voltage screen is literally a mobile port. That is it. They give you bars on the side where our faces can go for this, but it doesn't make any sense for a PC client. Why are you not using the space you have? Right. So you don't need this extra screen if you put everything in the same area. Is my logic.
No, I think I'm all on board with that. And I think going from High Voltage, like this is a fast game mode. We're going to jump around a little bit. We're going to go to Conquest. And I think this is also a very interesting kind of like topic of discussion when it comes to just Snap overall. Like I'm sure we haven't talked about this, but I feel like this could be a general consensus. Like this pertains to Conquest, but like I don't really care or want to get gold tickets from caches.
That's fair. Do you want to start cons here? I probably should have asked this. Do you want to start with cons here and then move back to pros?
And then we'll move to pros.
Okay. So I'm down with that. No, that is an entirely fair one. I think they've addressed it. They said that yes, we understand that the gold tickets feel bad and they're going to do something about that. Maybe something in terms of the way they ever update that. I think they've said in the past. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I agree that in general, this doesn't. The gold tickets don't feel enjoyable receiving them. They feel like a waste of a resource, of something, of a reward, quote unquote. Yeah. I think that's my biggest complaint about that. I think it's a very fair complaint. I think my other complaint with this is that this takes too long. And I get it, right? So Conquest is supposed to take longer. Yeah. But especially in comparison to how a ladder match can go. And even more so, we've seen with High Voltage. Yes. It's even quicker there. And even Proving Grounds it could technically take just as long as one game of gold. Yep. And I think I think that's a problem, and I think a simpler way to fix that is don't think Proving Grounds should be, I don't think it should be the whole 10 cubes. I think Proving Grounds should go to 8 points. Make it so it's one game. If you want to both snap on it, done. Cool. If not, you don't. But you give it the exact same rewards, and it's an easier way to ease into it. You move then forward. Gold can, and I don't think silver is beneficial.
Really?
Silver Conquest does not add anything to the game. It just adds another step, especially considering people can already get gold tickets for free. There's no reason for Silver Conquest. Silver Conquest should not be a thing, in my opinion.
Well, if they
move straight
gold
over
tickets from caches, maybe then you
gold caches maybe, but again, it's a long process. I don't know. But then if you remove Silver Conquest entirely, you keep gold the way it is. You got 10 wins. You move from there. Infinity Conquest, bring us to 12 points.
Really? Increase the health bar?
Yep, increase health bar. It should be, you go 8, 10, 12, and it progresses in the amount of health that you have with the amount of stakes that you have on there as well. Yes, I know I'm talking about the length of the game in particular there, but but that's why I want it to ease forward. So the Proving Grounds you can still do quicker, because it'll still be quicker games, and they won't take as long, but they still have the stakes behind them. Then you move to the gold, then you move to silver. But I think my biggest con with Conquest is how long these games can take, and I know I'm especially going to increase on the Infinity one, but I think it's fair because of the rate of the Infinity bit. And it also makes it feel better just in general, because then you can both snap turn 1, lose, and you're not screwed. You're not going 1 to 5. You're going 2 to they now have 3 points, you have 1 point or whatever, right?
Yeah.
If you think about it in terms of like fractions, ratios. I think that would make a lot of sense there as well, and I feel like it's cleaner. I don't know. That's if I'm going to talk about my con, I know it's a long con. I think that's it.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about adding like extra health bars to like Infinity Conquest. That would like make that game even longer too. I think like and it makes it, I guess, maybe worth, like you said, like, oh no, I guessed wrong, I lost 8, so it does reward, gambling a little bit more, because you're like, okay, well, I found this out, I can go back, I can do this kind of thing. So I do think that would be interesting. But yeah, I think the length of these games is, Snap is so quick normally on ladder, like even at 5 to 10 minutes, because people are taking their time, or maybe they are roping. I think maybe they're just thinking out what they're trying to do. And then when it comes to Infinity Conquest, like those games, people should be thinking out longer and longer. And I think that's the thing. And I wonder if like, when we're going to get the Shuri's Lab testing mode, because all we have for that now really is Proving Grounds. Like that would be just beneficial overall. So it does kind of, it feels bad to have Proving Grounds for testing stuff. And I wonder if there was like a situation where like in Proving Grounds you can't just retreat. So like let's say you snap, you have to play in that game anyways. You just can't retreat in Proving Grounds. I wonder if that's something you could do.
Yeah, you just have 1 point or whatever, and that's it. Like that's similar to ladder there, right? That could be another thing I would be fine with, honestly, because I do think legitimately, right? Again, it's a different con, but I think a con of Conquest is the fact that Proving Grounds, a place that you oftentimes have to play in order to progress, is full of people who aren't wanting to actually play the game. Yeah. They are just trying to get missions done. They're just trying to test at least they're trying to test the deck. They're trying to play the deck. But oftentimes, I think it's full of a lot of people who are just trying to get their missions done, and they don't care, and they don't want to actually they don't want to lose anything. So people who are trying to earn through it, you're trying to play a real game against someone who is just like, I don't like pressing random buttons on a keyboard and just hoping for the best.
Yeah.
And I think that's a legitimate potential issue there.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think like still another con, I think there's a lot of inflation when it comes to medals. Like you're earning medals playing through Conquest. The conversion rate to boosters is horrible, first of all. And then like these rewards, I think, are pretty expensive when it comes to like these Conquest rewards for medals. Yes, it's like a free reward, quote unquote, because you played the game a lot and you earned it. But I feel like there's been, I think, back-to-back times now, too, they took gold out of a reward for the Conquest shop.
Yeah, that was going to be another con. Yeah, they've taken gold out of the shop. I think is a very noticeable conversation to have.
Yeah, and I don't know. It just feels like this game mode still just I'm not a fan of Conquest. I mean, if you guys can tell, I play more ladder and like stuff like that. But I don't know. It just feels like Conquest is grindy, just like ladder, and yes, it has rewards, but it feels like the rewards are kind of lackluster for the grind you have to put into it.
That's fair. Yeah, I think that's entirely accurate as well. And I think I think my last con on this actual game mode is that I think the fact that it is extremely grindy, and oftentimes that grind can come down to a deck that just counters your deck.
Yes.
And I think the fact that you can lose so much progress due to the fact that you just have a bad matchup, whereas an advantage to every other game mode is if you have a bad deck, a bad matchup, like if I'm playing Thanos against Darkhawk, Thanos already isn't great, and Darkhawk's putting even more cards in my deck, I can just retreat and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
In Conquest, I very specifically, I am running uphill with the current against me. And it's that's not the right metaphor. I don't care. It's very difficult there, and I think that's I think if I say another point that I have against it, I think that is my largest point against Conquest. Matchup matters so much more here that it feels like you can get hard countered and just it just sucks incredibly.
Yeah, you gotta live with it, and I think that's the thing too. Is like going off that. I think I agree. Like, the hard counters is tough, and like the meta in Conquest is different than the meta on ladder too, which I guess is kind of a pro in a sense too, because it's like you're not just playing the same thing over on both game modes. But no, I hear you. Like, it's like, okay, well, I want to try this out, but everyone's playing the same thing. The Conquest meta, everyone's playing the same exact Conquest meta right now because that's what's winning, and it's just, I feel like a lot more mirrors on Conquest 2 maybe than ladder is what I've seen for the most part.
I can feel like that's definitely as well. But yeah, I don't know. But I will say a point you just made was a pro, and I think that's a notable pro. I do like the fact, and again, it's a pro that every single game mode, I think for the most part, except for Diner versus Ladder.
Yes.
A pro that all the game modes have is you can the deck building can vary between them.
Yes.
Conquest decks change between it, and I think I love that fact about it. And I love being able to build a deck differently. Like, there's a deck that you played when you were doing the creator tournament over the weekend, which you did a great job. I think you got 13th, by the way, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
18th.
18th. Still, 18th out of all the creators is still amazing. That puts you in the top bit. Congratulations on that bit.
Thank you.
But still, when you're building for a Conquest deck, you have to make it different than your ladder deck sometimes, because there are different ways you're going to have to play around it, because then sometimes you can gain that information. You can gain that knowledge inside of Conquest and retreat for a cube and know more information about the deck you're playing against. Whereas on ladder or other places, if you see a counter, if you see something like that, you're like, okay, have to stop. I've lost. You retreat, go to a new one.
Yep.
And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think the strategy aspect, which like bringing up like tournaments, like just like the Gauntlet, which was awesome. Shout out to Marvel Snap for hosting that for the creators too, giving people opportunities who hadn't been in it before to be able to, compete in it, which was really sick. I think I do really love that this does add a different layer of competitiveness to Marvel Snap, because sometimes even in a bad matchup, there's still a way to win if you play it smart. Like, it's not going to be a high percentage all the time, but like it adds another level to like what we've talked about in previous yaps and stuff too, like knowing when to snap and knowing when to retreat, even into a bad matchup where you're noticing they're not drawing the stuff they need. You're snapping into it and you're being aggressive when you need to and retreating for 1 or 2 after you've gotten the intel, like you're saying, to be able to follow through. That adds a different level of strategy, which is why these games do take longer because of that situation itself. So I do love that perspectively, being able to use this. And I like that Conquest is incorporated with friendly battles too. So like if you are wanting to just practice with a friend, you're using the Conquest engine in order to do that right now, instead of kind of, if it was like the ladder engine, you would have to re-queue into each other a lot. So I do like
side
that.
note,
Yeah.
I think that should be able to be, I think in the same way you can choose your game mode, I think you should be able to choose the friendly battle mode you do.
That'd be cool.
Just saying. Especially considering, again, talking about the creator tournament, this is a side note entirely. Creator tournament, for this week, you guys actually all were playing against each other on your own closed ladder. So it was a 1 game per player system. And I think that was really cool to be able to do. And I think that would be something different that I'd like, rather than just being like, all right, hey, we always snap both. A snap doesn't matter at this point. right, in terms of the doubling bit, but I think that'd be a different type of game mode that I would like to be able to just be able to choose with. But I think that's fair. But I think as well, going into another pro with this game mode I will personally have is I love the fact that this is a good game mode for snapping very specifically, because I think this is, I think, one of the best game modes and probably one of the reasons why it's permanent. This is one of the best game modes and for your knowledge of snapping.
Mm-hmm.
There have been many games where I'm playing against, and I've talked about it, right? Where, let's imagine a Thanos versus Darkhawk. Thanos is the underdog in that matchup, but when I snap properly and use my deck properly, I can still beat a Darkhawk deck that doesn't snap.
Yep.
I have seen many great players of Marvel Snap who suck at snapping. And I think, like, honestly, and I'm not naming anyone, but there are definitely people, I think, who suck at snapping in Conquest.
Yeah. And
maybe just on ladder, right? But that's why I really enjoy Conquest, because it also promotes that level of competitiveness and promotes the whole, it's called Marvel Snap.
Yeah.
So if there's a place where snapping is going to be a thing, it is this hyper competitive game mode where snapping matters so much more than everywhere else.
Yep.
And that's cool to me.
And I think you nailed it right on the head, especially in that sense where it's like learning how to snap, especially if you are locked into the same matchup for multiple rounds. It helps you when you go back onto ladder. Okay, I've faced this deck before in Conquest. Here's what I need to do. Here's what I need to know. And then like, oh, I can snap this because they haven't done this. Like, it does build up that intel. It's like the same thing as like playing a round of Conquest let's say you go 10 rounds. That's like 10 different ladder matches. Like, sometimes those ladder matches are going to take more time than those 10 rounds in Conquest. So like, if you're playing for, an hour a day, maybe you get in 20 matches in an hour. Maybe. Probably more close to 10. But if you're in Conquest and the meta is the way it is right now, and you're facing that one person for like 6 rounds in a row, you're able to learn when you go back onto ladder, maybe you are just, doing your business and only have a couple games to play. Going into that situation, this is really popular right now. I can play this deck I'm super comfortable with, and I can climb like crazy because I face it so much in this other situation kind of thing.
No, I think I was playing Airship over a week or two ago, and I was doing a lot of it because I just didn't want to think anymore. Which, by the way, again, another point for high voltage. You don't have to think really. It's kind of brainless, but I love it.
Yep.
But anyway, I wanted to be brainless, so I just played some Airship, and the amount of people that would turn one snap me on both ladder Conquest because they're playing Darkhawk and I'm playing Airship was a vast majority of them.
Yep.
But it just goes down to the way that you're actually using your resources, and it doesn't. Sometimes it just doesn't matter. I could just throw down an Alioth or a Cosmo, something way too early because that's how Airship works, and still win the game.
Yep.
Because I'm using my resources better than they are, and that matters a dang heck of a lot. So, in general, I really do like the fact that this game mode, yes, it takes longer, but it is more competitive, and I think it uses that competitiveness well for itself.
Yeah.
I think there are improvements that they could do here, and I've talked about those, right? But in general, I do think this is a fair game mode in that. I think the only other complaint I might have here is it's kind of it, not really, but I wish there wasn't as much of an emphasis on, hey, how do I get an Infinity Avatar? Because that's going to be happening not today, but it's next week. Everyone's going to be trying to get their Infinity Avatars, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. You have, even if you win 80% of your games, which the top players don't do, you are still only like 50% chance to get an Infinity Avatar because you have to win 5 games in a row there. And I think that's both a good thing and a bad thing about this game mode, where it matters, your losses matter so much more, and it's such a big setback. So I don't know exactly where that fits inside of this front, but I do think that is another part of this aspect that I don't enjoy, that everyone trying to find the best way to metagame the Infinity Avatar, because that doesn't work.
Yeah.
It is a true test of, and I'm not even saying skill, it's a true test of RNG, legitimately, because there's a good chance that you're going to lose. And there's also a good chance that you might get some, or actually not a good chance, a very bad chance, I think, that you might get people who are just not good at the game.
Yeah.
And that will be the people you play against. How many times have you queued into watched someone's stream, or you've had or someone has jumped into your chat and said, hey, where can I get opponents like these? Because your opponent just does the most brain dead play you've ever seen. And you're like, well, thank you very much for the clip, you fool.
Yeah.
But it really feeds into that bit, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but I think that's a very important aspect about this game mode as well. It feeds into the randomness of your opponents.
Yeah, there's like, quote unquote, there's MMR in Conquest, but it doesn't really feel like there's MMR sometimes. Like it's really interesting, and I definitely like it feels different probably at a lower collection level player running into people with a higher collection level player. Kind of the inverse of kind of what we feel since we've played the game so much. It may feel like also a brain dead play to us because we've played the game so much, but it may be like they just don't know the mechanics just yet because they are a lower collection level, which happens. Like, it's definitely.
Can't believe that you didn't know that Scream no longer affects unrevealed cards. You absolute foolish player. I can't believe you. You didn't read every single patch note last week, you fool.
Yeah.
God.
No.
That's sarcasm. No, but yeah.
That's Conquest. I don't know if you have anything else to add about Conquest.
I could keep yapping, but I think that's all the important points.
Okay. We're gonna jump over to Ladder here, and then we'll finish up with Diner because Diner will be coming up next month.
Yeah.
But just you want to start with Ladder?
Yeah. You want to start pros or cons? Because I've got the options.
We can start with pros.
All right. A pro I will say is it's in direct comparisons to I think a con in both High Voltage and Conquest. The rewards for Ladder feel very substantial every single time. For reaching the different ranks, what is it? You get, I think it's like 1,000 credits to like 1,500 credits, 500 gold, an exclusive card back, a variant, like all these things that are extremely difficult sometimes to get, especially the later ones, right? But I think this is the best place in Marvel Snap to get gold, reaching at least rank 90. That like the rewards you get here for the pushing, for the grind that you have to go through are extremely substantial. I think those matter a lot.
Yeah, no, I think the rewards are really great for pre-infinite, and I think having those as objectives to obtain to be able to continue to get that in-game currency, I think is really solid. And I think what I like is the games are normally quick. I think depending on when you play as well, this could be a pro or a con for some people, but like running into a bot to kind of progress through your climb, or if you've been in a pretty bad spout, you run into a bot to be able to get some of those cubes back going into some of these later just like grinding sessions, because you kind of do have to grind a bit to be able to hit infinite. But I think it is a good way to kind of just learn a couple decks or play into at different times of the day to kind of just see, because the meta kind of changes every other day or so. Sometimes the same exact day, depending on what time of day you're playing, which we'll explain that here in a little bit when we go towards some of the cons. But I feel like this game still just feels really fast, and I think I still love that at the base of what Snap is its ladder game mode, and like just playing quick games. Sometimes you do have to sit and think, but I like that the game still feels like it flows. Just not on Hot Location Day, but
don't spoil my cons, please. No, I do definitely agree with that. I think what is it? I really do legitimately though, because I don't do ladder as much I think as you do. I know you definitely do a lot more pushing with that, but I do really enjoy the way that even as you progress further, and it is kind of a con, but I think it is a good thing in the end, where as you progress further, all you get is a smaller number. Yeah. And that is a purely pride thing. But like that could be seen as a bad thing, right? Like I put all this time and effort into it and I don't get any reward. At the same time, it's once you reach infinite, you've reached your goal that you're looking for, and you can chill out a lot more and play the game more casually. Like ladder can become a casual mode for you if you've already hit infinite, because you can't leave infinite. And I think that's a great thing, legitimately. I do think that people who want to push really far, you can take that like the high rank bit and wear that as a sense of pride, a badge of pride, and that's also a great reward for you. So I think it sounds weird, but again, I'm going to the rewards. It's a very simple bit of what do you gain from being really high in the ladder? Do you gain the ability to get the smallest number possible so that you can beat the top 10 in the world? Or do you gain the ability to be able to play whatever deck you want to, whatever crazy brew you've got here, because you really think that you found the secret brew that finally unlocks Jean Grey? Or is it just the place where you're like, I'm going to grind the hell out of this thing just so I can see my number reach triple digits at least? Like, I like the freedom of that.
Yeah, I think the freedom is good because it's like, okay, yes, the meta might be all over the place, but people have not seen this deck in a while, so I might be able to steal some cubes from some people. Opposed to like Conquest, okay, well, I'm trying this new thing, but I'm locked into it until my health bar reaches 0.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. No, I like that as well. That's really good. What other pros you got here though?
Something I like about, let's see, like pro-wise is, I think like bounties for the most part, like feel like they can be done in ladder as well, opposed to just in proving grounds. Where I enjoy that aspect of it, and I feel like, I don't know, maybe this is weird, but I feel like I can see more people's splits playing ladder than I can playing Conquest because the games are quicker. I run into so many different matchups, so I like seeing what people, what effects they have on their cards and stuff. I know it's weird, and that doesn't really just pertain to ladder itself. Maybe that's just Snap as a whole, but like I really like running into people that have just like, spent a bunch of time upgrading cards because I love seeing different art and what people, mess around with because, art is subjective. Like I might like something, you might not. You might like something, I might not, just to see what people have done. Are people running foil? Are people running base? Like, it's interesting just to see that RNG aspect on the random cards I see daily. Even if I'm running into the same deck in a mirror match, I'm like, okay, well, I have a split on this card. What do they have on their Darkhawk? Like, I don't know. That's a weird probably take than what you may have been thinking I was going to say, but it's
it's definitely a different one, but I like it. No, I like the fact that's a different take. That's really cool. What is it? No, that's a very good take. Do you have any other pros here? Because I think that I've hit my list of pros. I have less here.
I have the cons coming, so you can go ahead and start.
Well, then I'm going to start with the one that you already teased.
Okay.
Hot locations.
Suck.
Hot locations are not good for the game, I don't think. I think that forcing everyone to have like a specific location to be in at least 50% of your decks forces deck building to be a lot more narrow and makes it so it feels like you're playing up against mirrors and or the same deck repeatedly. And I think it kind of goes into a pro, but I think that one of the pros of ladder, which actually I guess we didn't mention, is the quickness of the games and being able to play new games repeatedly. When you get to this, when you get to the whatever the holocation is, if I'm dealing with, I don't know, sewer system, boy, I'm excited to play against 19 Ajax decks today. No, not in the slightest. So I don't enjoy that, and that can feel incredibly annoying to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't like hot locations. It makes me play Conquest, and I don't like playing Conquest because, we're trying to make content and stuff too. But no, hot locations to promote the new card coming out or to promote whatever they got going on during the season is very interesting. I don't like that. I don't like, there's like, I don't know. I wouldn't say, I wasn't gonna be like, I hate that in ladder people BM more, but it's like, people BM wherever. I don't really care if it's ladder or Conquest, whatever. That's just the game.
Random thing, they don't BM in Pokemon Pocket, and it's been my favorite aspect of that game. I mute it's as someone who wants to have every single emote, I mute everyone before I play into them. Unless I know who you are, I mute you beforehand because I do not enjoy the emotes because the majority of them do just feel like, screw you.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. So here we go. So I like the pro of you getting rewards up until you hit infinite. I wish my con is there was a payoff for actually grinding to hit that top 10 rank in infinite. I wish there was something, even if it's like Marvel Snap posts, here are the top 10 people from this season. Here's the recap. Like that still would just be really cool. It's probably not that hard to pull up just that stat there and just post that somewhere. Maybe it's in the Discord. Maybe it's on X Twitter. Maybe it's somewhere. But like, maybe Ben Brode says it in the video for the new season or something. Like, I wish there was another way you could get like a payoff or a reward for all the grinding you did, which I guess technically Leagues is like that, but that's different, and like that's not a game mode that we'll be talking today. We've talked about that the past couple weeks of the way it is about Leagues, which you can also kind of play in a league later, so you're not against all the sweats to be able to get those rewards too. But I don't know. I feel like there's probably a way they could implement better rewards for ranked ladder. And maybe if they can do something like that, they can also put in rewards for alliances that are more competitive when it comes to alliance wars maybe in the future. But I know that's kind of jumping around, but that's what I got.
Yeah, that's a different one entirely. Yeah, I don't know. I think I do think in the end though, a different point that I'll say is, yes, I enjoy the fact that you can grind more in there, but I don't enjoy the fact that it feels like in the end, the top people in ladder are the ones who, and it's no offense, they are great at the game, but I think there's a lot of people who could just play a lot more and they would be up there.
Yeah.
And it's not, the only thing for it is not just free time, but I think that's one of the largest contributing factors, the free time you have. And I don't enjoy the way that feels.
Yeah.
In terms of like the top bit of, Infinite or whatever. Yeah.
Because Snap's like, that's like Snap's talked about not wanting to be a competitive game and wanting to be more casual. So I hear what you're saying. Like, if you are more competitive, you're playing more. So that's why you're hitting that. So I do hear what you're saying. I do.
Yeah. No, that's I think that's one of my other issues there. It's just like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's legitimately there's just so many people that are good that just are never going to be in the top ladder because they just don't want to put the time into it, because in the end it's just so dang much that you have to do.
Yes, it is a lot of games you have to put in and everything, which is like kind of makes mobile games kind of grindy as is. But I don't have any other pros or cons for ladder. I don't know if you.
It's not even. I think it's something you hinted on, but I'll say it. It's the baseline. This is what Marvel Snap has been built around. What everyone has played with. So every other game mode that we've had feels like a deviation of this game mode.
Yeah.
So, and if as a baseline, it's a good baseline. It is a baseline, but it's also vanilla, so you don't enjoy it after a certain point.
Yeah.
But that's why but that's one of the things about this game mode. I don't even think it's a good or a bad thing. It's just a thing about this game mode. Ladder is the baseline, as how Snap was designed. That's when, if you play Marvel Snap, you're typically thinking of a ladder match because that's how you've seen this stuff.
And then with that, we're going to go into the last game mode we're going to talk about. Is going to be good old Deadpool's Diner, which is going to be coming back in November. We were talking about that last week when we were going over the roadmap as well. It's going to be more Thanksgiving themed. Going to have some cornucopia stuff going on. This, like we were talking about earlier, we're kind of going to go quickly through pros and cons of this because we do have a long segment also here towards the end of the video. But I think Deadpool's Diner, I'm going to do my pros and cons just all in one little jump here.
Sure.
Is that the pros of Deadpool's Diner. It felt new, and it felt like you were doing something different. It felt like it was really cool seeing all the animations. You could control your snapping. There were so many snapping things going on. It really emphasized the gambling aspect, which could also be a con if you really look at it that way. But I liked that there was a lot of rewards. There was a cool reward track. It was very deep reward track, and there was different ways for you to get bubs. I think I like the community aspect as well, as like us coming together to help people get Cassandra Nova so more people could get the brand new card. I think that was really cool. I did not like really the cooldown aspect of going into games, which hopefully they do something about, especially when they first started, which they fixed quickly, which is a pro. They did here and they fixed quickly. But it definitely felt way more like a pay-to-win kind of game mode 2 for Cassandra Nova, because you could just pay to get the bubs and pay to get the variant. Whereas, like, looking at it now, Agony was kind of paid, but, like, at the same time, you had to complete the missions, whereas Deadpool's Diner, you could just buy bubs on reset. I know you still was a while for it, but that I didn't really like as the main thing.
I'll say just as an immediate con, the fact that you could buy the exclusive card in this game mode, that's a con to me. Yes. That was just definitively a con. And I think that before even hitting everything else, I think that was just my least favorite part about that, where I think you had to only spend like, I think if you spent your gold very carefully, you could spend like, it was like $50 like that, right? And you could just immediately get to Cassandra at least. Yeah. Which was not, that didn't feel cool. So if we're gonna talk about things we didn't enjoy, right? That's immediately on that list. I will say I did enjoy the fact that and again, you mentioned it because you hit a lot of the goods and the bads. I loved the fact that this really did feel like a increase in terms of like how you're snapping. I already said Conquest was good in that, and I think this felt even better with that. Too many people would say into turn like you have to evaluate on turn 3, is this game worth it? On turn 4, is this game worth it? Turn 5, is this game? And it puts so much more effort into every single turn, which that could be a con to some people, right? Yeah. And they could say this is extremely exploitative. It's like poker on steroids. Marvel Snap's already supposed to be like that with snapping. Yeah. And it just emphasized that. So whether that's a good or a bad thing is a different conversation, but I really did enjoy that bit of it. Yeah. Did you have any other pieces? Because I had at least a couple more.
No, you can go ahead. I rattled off all what I got.
Fair. What was it? And then in terms of just another thing I legitimately did enjoy there is I enjoyed the fact that once you reach the top, and maybe it's a bad thing, I enjoyed the fact you could just try to donate. Yeah. I loved the fact that I could just be like, okay, I want to help others get here. So I would just stay in and not play, and that's it. And then you just you just give your cubes back, and that's fine. And I think that was a really cool bit to be able to do, and I really enjoyed that bit. I'll say in terms of that though, I did not enjoy the fact that you could be capped in how many bubs you're spending. Not in the game mode that you're in. So if you remember, each table had a different amount that you minimum needed to have. I think that when you're snapping in general, like if both players snap and all the turns snap, you should have reached that minimum in terms of it. But the fact that table, the threshold was different than what you could actually bet there. So you would be like, all right, I can gain this many, and they have to have at least this little. But then they're like, oh yeah, we just had like a little bit more than the floor, and you're just going to take all of it then when you win. That I didn't in particular enjoy. Yeah. But I feel like, yeah. And honestly, I really enjoyed the reset, the change that you talked about that they made there, where the base floor was super easy to get into. And I think people still got annoyed because they would spend all their stuff in there, and then they'd be stuck out for a few hours. And I get that. I also think it's fair that you got stuck out of it. If even at that base floor where the threshold was super low, it still had that rough RNG, the rough games, or maybe you didn't play correctly, whatever that is. I thought that was still another really good telling way of how people played the game, and I really enjoyed that there was more effort there. And then the last thing you said is there were so many more rewards, because there were a lot of ways that you could lose bubs, a lot of ways that you could lose your progress. And we don't have that in high voltage because it is so casual. We don't have a lot of crazy rewards, but there were so many rewards in Deadpool's Diner. So many. Legitimately, so dang many rewards. And I think that was something that I absolutely loved. I love the fact that so much progression, so much stuff, and it was a grind to get it, sure, but that's the reason why they were willing to put more rewards in there. And I think that was a really cool aspect of it. However, it also, again, a counterpoint to that, it made it difficult to ignore it. And that's one thing I honestly enjoy about alliances, or actually alliance I think is just the biggest point. And honestly, leagues. If you don't want to deal with those, you can just ignore them and play the game normally, and you lose very little. And I know that people want those to be increased in their rewards. But I think currently the benefit of it is the fact that if you are ignoring them, you don't lose. You feel like you're missing out on content because you're not participating in them. Yeah. However, if you didn't participate in Deadpool's Diner, it just sucks for you. Yes. So that's again kind of all the pros, all the cons there. In the end, I still really like this game, and I'm excited to see it, and I think that they're going to improve upon it. I hope you can't just buy the new card. I hope that it's going to be an easier reset. In general, I'm really excited about this the return of this game mode, though.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm also very excited for this brand new card we have coming out today, which is going to be Toxin. which is a 2/1. On reveal, return your other cards here to your hand, +2 power for each returned. So, Beast, Wolfsbane, combine them together, make them a 2 cost, and make it better than Wolfsbane probably maybe ever was. And this card is going to be filthy. What are you thinking, Dance?
Yeah, I think this card's going to be very good. I think actually, I hadn't thought about the comparison to Wolfsbane, and I actually really do love that comparison. The only difference, right, and I guess it's why it's cheaper, is that the cards go back into your hand afterwards, so you can't, even if you trigger it multiple times, it doesn't matter. It's still going to be staying at the same amount of power. I still love that. I think it's really cool. I'm as someone who's been I've been doing a little bit more bounce lately. It feels like a lot of fun. I'm getting myself prepared for this card. It's going to be, the biggest thing about this card is going to be how prevalent Cosmo is, I think. This is part of the reason, honestly, why I'd also said I wanted Cosmo nerfed. If Cosmo is too good of a card, I think this card is going to have a really, really bad week, because you can't bounce if there's Cosmo, right? That just stops the on reveal. You can kind of get around it with via Falcon and such, but that's difficult to do. So, and maybe that's something people don't like. I know there are people out there who just don't enjoy bounce, and that's fair. But as someone who does enjoy it, I think I hope that it's not a prevalent meta of Cosmo. And in general, I'm really psyched about this card. I think it's going to be a nice addition to bounce. I'm excited to see, honestly, like, am I going to have all my cards in my hand too often? Or is it going to be a situation where it's like, we're just like, everything's going like so quickly, and does my brain start hurting even more than before?
Yeah,
I'm kind of down to find out, and I'm really excited about this card for that. I initially, when I saw this card, I was joking when I said this card's gonna suck, because I wanted to get buffed further. But legitimately, with Cosmo being so prevalent, this card might just kind of be okay, and that's it.
Yeah, I think that the Cosmo situation definitely is something we need to keep in mind. I was honestly more curious if people are going to cut Falcon from their list, which I don't think they will. Maybe they will. But, like, I'm also interested, like, this is really good for, like, a later game kind of hood situation. You actually can play the hood onto the board with the -3 and then bounce it back if you're trying to get the Hitmonkey procs. So, like, I think it adds that extra layer to, like, the just Hitmonkey version of bounce, opposed to just maybe werewolf bounce, which is going to be really interesting when it comes to board space and stuff, and this being another card that just gets pretty good power. But I don't know. I think this is going to be fun. I think it's going to be kind of just put into shells already, but maybe we will see more werewolf. Maybe we'll see Echo, so we don't get hit with Cosmo things. I don't know. But I don't know. I think this is going to be fun. I think there's going to be a bunch of different shells people are going to be playing. Move bounce, a Nihilist bounce. Maybe that makes a comeback. So maybe if you don't get the Viper kind of thing, you can just send the Void back into your hand and get Toxin power. Like, I don't know.
No, it might actually give it value on the final turn, because I feel like that's the biggest, I think, con this card has. You, in a normal bounce shell, you can't really play this in the final turn without really screwing up your game plan. And so this might be a really fun deviation, because then, again, I like the idea of that stuff with Annihilus, where on the final turn, you can have left, I don't know, you could have left the Void and, let's say, Hood. I don't know what other card it's been messing with you all over there.
Yeah.
But then you just put that to take those back, and all of a sudden you're at 5 power there, and you've gone up. Let's imagine you have both those. You've gone up, if I'm not mistaken, 16 points power in one lane.
Yeah, because you're bouncing those cards back. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's cool. I love that. So, and again, this is going to be insane with Agent Venom.
Yeah. Yeah, this also getting to 4 power immediately. And then
a base 4?
Yeah.
And then getting to, don't you love a casual 2/10?
Thena who? We got Thena at home.
Honestly, this is going to be, like, yeah, this is going to be insane. This is going to be an insane card. In that type of stuff. Again, that's why Cosmo is going to exist.
Yeah.
How the meta reacts to this card is going to be awesome. I think it's just going to have to be a wait and see on that bit. And in general, if you like bounce, if you like that style of it, I definitely think this is going to be a great card to get. Probably more so with tokens than with keys, because I think it's coming out with Elsa and Zabu.
Yeah, but if you don't have Zabu, it is a great time to get Zabu.
Yeah. And if you can guarantee that you can get 2 cards that you didn't have before, if you've got the 4 keys for it, I typically think that it's a great, I think it's typically just a good idea to spend your keys on that type of stuff. And as Salvi was mentioned, of course, your cat shows up again, and I love it. Oh, 2 cats. Oh, wow.
Got 3 cats.
I love it.
But yeah, we're excited for Toxin, and now we're about to transition to our next segment, which is going to be brand new, actually, for the pod over here. We're going to be doing a tier list on a new scene for all of the season pass cards ever. We got 30 season pass cards from the OG seasons all the way up to Surtur, and we're going from start to finish. And it's also based off their OG abilities, how they were first listed when they were season pass cards. Yeah,
and I mean, starting off with it, so Wave, she's now a 3/5 that all cards cost a maximum of 4 until the end of next turn.
Yep.
As an on reveal. When she first came out, though, she was a 3/3 that said on reveal next turn cards in both players' hands cost 4. That was every single card. Remember that Death Wave, She-Hulk shenanigans? It also still worked with that card was insane then. And I think, I don't know, this feels like an A or S tier card immediately.
I think
as base.
I think at base, I'm thinking, just looking at what else we have on the list, I like an A or high B tier.
I'll agree with A. I'm willing to move down to B if it's going to be potentially, if we have options to move it down. But I definitely think, I mean, this dominated the meta. There was and so I think that there's a good reason that this card was so dang good.
Yes.
Right. The next one was Thor. Now, Thor, when he actually released, was not a 3 cost. Thor was originally the stats we have for Beta Ray Bill. A 4/6. Mjolnir still gave him +6 power. So he got to a 4/12. And they brought him down in order. I think it was a buff, I believe, in eventually to bring him to the 3/4. But at his original stat line, I think it was I think this was a very middling card, if not bad.
Dare we say C or D tier?
I do. I don't know if I want to say D. I feel like there are worse cards here now back then, but I think I could see C. I could easily see C. I'd be a lot of this stuff I'm fine moving down because again, maybe Power Creep's gonna mess with this, but it is a very it was a very good it was not a very good card at first.
Yes.
Then we have Daredevil, who's stayed the same. 2/2 on turn 5. You get to see your opponent's plays before you make your own. This is just middle, I think. I don't know if it's ever been bad. I don't think it's ever been good. It's just consistently like, okay.
I think it's still like a C tier card.
Do you think it's better or worse than a 4/6 Thor?
It's better than Thor. It's better than Thor, but it's like still C tier.
You know what? I have a feeling that we're going to be moving stuff downwards, so I'm willing to compromise on the C. Especially when talking about the next one, which is definitely going to be a D.
Yes, Nick
Fury especially at release, was a 5/7, same ability.
Yeah, no.
That's just D. That's just a bad card.
Yep.
And these were the 4 beta seasons that we had, the 4 months of the beta seasons. I don't think you and I did you do beta? I don't remember if you did the beta stuff.
My first season was Miles' season.
Yeah, same. And I think that was my first season as well. And I don't honestly. Miles is, I think he's worse than Thor, but better than Nick. And it's either again base one, especially if you talk about like, I don't know if we're talking about the environment those cards were released in, but how fewer movement cards we had then, especially, really makes me feel like that card was just not good.
Yes. At the point of release, we're not saying like currently, which currently he probably is like C tier.
Yeah, I'd say currently he's like C or maybe B because he also works in like Scream stuff. But I think in general, it's just like, I think it's just like, it wasn't good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, and then speaking of D tier, right, we're just going to go for the D tiers 3 in a row, I think. Black Panther?
Well,
was he good? I don't know if he was ever good.
Black Panther during that season was when Black Panther Wong Zola became popular for the first time. It still wasn't anything crazy, but I might put him in C above Thor.
I could compromise there. I think at release, that was a fair place to be.
Yes.
I think it's a lot better now.
Yes.
at the 5, obviously, and you can do more things, right, with some other cards we'll be talking about here. But I think in general, back then, it was different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pause real quick before we go into Surfer. Can you scroll down and make it so that these cards are portrait? Because then we can squeeze more onto this board. So scroll down further, I think. Presentate. There was an option for it. I had seen that. Hold up. Sorry, I know that we're
like this.
Wait, no, it was where to put this screen. Is it this one? Temp in the tier list. Maybe it was when you had to do the base of it. I don't think you can do it anymore, but you can change. You could have changed it to be portrait images instead of this. Okay.
This is better.
All right, it's fine. It still works. All right, sorry. You can. Oh no, it messed up every single order.
It's okay. It was
Surfer was next.
Surfer.
I can lead you into it if you want to.
Yeah.
Okay. So you lead us off here with Surfer though.
I think we have a very very easy. I'm gonna say S. I'm gonna say Surfer with +3 was an easy S tier for that season.
Yeah. Silver Surfer was a 3/0 that gave +3 power to every single other 3-cost card on the board.
Yeah, disgusting. Literally disgusting.
This was like, I think Second Dinners talked about it when we had this. It was, and the next card we have here, and I think is again going to go into the S tier.
Mm-hmm.
I think it felt like the meta was just Surfer, and I'm just going to lead into it, Zabu. They said between these two, Surfer was the best deck.
And I think we actually did wrong order. I think Zabu was actually before Surfer. Or am I wrong?
You pull it up. That is incorrect.
Okay.
Surfer released in December of 2022, and Zabu was the first card of 2023.
Okay, and I will put Zabu ahead of Surfer though in this.
I disagree. That Second Dinner said that Silver Surfer decks had the best win rate, even more so than Zabu did when they both were dominating the meta. I think Surfer did more against it, and we didn't even have new versions of Surfer with like Shaw and stuff.
Okay.
I think I could be wrong here. Someone let me know. But again, I will say Zabu was good, right? Zabu released as a 3-cost 2-power card ongoing. Your 4-cost cards cost 2 less. It's gone down so much further. Keeps getting nerfed.
Mm-hmm.
And I argue Surfer was better. I think Second Dinner said that. If you disagree, it's fair.
Okay.
But I think Zabu was still good. But I definitely think Surfer was just barely took the cake.
Okay. And then we have Hitmonkey.
Actually, next card was MODOK. MODOK was in February of 2023. What is it? Remember that movie that came out, Quantum Mania? Great movie. But MODOK, I think it's just a solid B card. I can see it being low A. It's an essential pretty much for the discard archetype.
Now it's low A or high B, but I think at its time, it was probably B, low B. Looking at just comparatively to everything else, which we'll be going over.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot, was it? And I think that's one of the things about discard, even back then as well, discard was random. We didn't have Blade hitting only the rightmost card. We didn't have Moon Knight hitting even. It was that MODOK was also one of the most consistent ways you could discard cards.
Yes.
And so that felt honestly pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
And he, even at his worst, has still, I think, felt best than Nimrod, the next card we had. Nimrod, again, talking about when the card was released, I think this is one of the worst. This was a really bad one. Too. Yeah, he was a 5/5 when he first released, and if y'all know what he does, when it's destroyed, add a copy to each other locations. This was not good in the slightest. Like, yeah, you could do destroyer things. Yeah, you could maybe do Hulkbuster. You could, and I don't even know if Shuri had been in the game yet. I don't remember this. I think maybe. I want to say yes.
Yeah,
but
Shuri was in the game, but I think Shuri was Series 4.
Yeah, that sounds right. But Nimrod just did not. It didn't feel good, and I think it's just now barely starting to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
But I still don't think it's a good card, and I think this has been one of the worst. I think, it's better than Nick Fury. I think it's better than the way
Thor down. I might be on.
I think I was about to say Thor can easily go to D here because I think he was still.
You still had to draw Mjolnir.
So here's the thing: neither one of us played in those beta things, so we're guessing on those cards. But I do think that, yeah, he was probably worse. Because was Jane in the game already?
Probably. Because Jane was the same season as like Nick Fury, I think, or something.
There's a good chance that actually, what is it, Thor? Yeah, actually, I would say Thor is definitely good down there. I think, what is it? Yeah, I think you're fine leaving it as, actually, Jane used to do something different entirely, but that's an entirely side point. But anyway, the next one that we had, though, was Hitmonkey. Now, this card was good. This was one of the bounce surgences. I think this was this better than Wave or worse than Wave? What do you think?
I think it's better than Wave. They had to nerf him. They had to make him from a 2-0 to a 3-2.
Yep. Yeah, so he was a 2-cost card, 0 power, gain plus power for each of the card you played this turn. Had to bring him way down there to 3 cost, and now he's 3 cost 3 power for plus same ability. Yeah, I feel like it was a really good place for him. As someone who really enjoyed bounce and this card, I think it was a very good one. You know what? Actually, I'm going to argue. I think the Wave was better. I think that Wave, because I think it was more oppressive as base than Hitmonkey was. And so I think she felt better to play and maybe worse to play against. I don't know if you're harder on Hitmonkey being above Wave, I can get that. But I think Wave felt much more powerful there.
Well, I think the thing is, like, Wave wasn't doing the She-Hulk Death, Doom Wave, whatever stuff until like after Hitmonkey season.
That's fair. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's a fair point. You've convinced me. Not as much as potentially, I think one of the best balanced season pass cards we've ever had, and because it has not changed up until this point. We have Nebula.
I think Nebula still is just a solid. I think
it's right there above B, top of B. I think.
Yeah, I think definitively.
I feel like B is the middle of the ground, like good. Hasn't really changed. It's never been too bad, too good, and I think it's the best of those. Then we've got then we've got like the ones that broke the meta entirely at the top. The ones that are like, yes, this was good, but it wasn't ever anything crazy. The ones at the bottom are like, sure,
yeah,
and the ones at the bottom, and then we have just no. And then I think a card that is probably going to go, I'm going to guess C tier here for Ghost Spider.
OG Ghost Spider being a 2-3.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, right? And now she's all the way down to a 1-cost 2-power card. We didn't have a lot of the synergy stuff, and a lot of move cost a lot more.
Yes.
Right? Like Doctor Strange had to get brought down. I think Dagger was hot. I don't remember what Dagger was at one point, but I think she cost more.
Maybe she was only 2. +3. She was only +2 out of 2.
Yeah, you're right. So I think she was. I think she was. I want to say better than. Was she better than? No, you know what? Yeah, I think this is right.
She was a feels bad at 2-3 when she first came out. They had to change her during the season to make her a 1-2. From a 2-3.
I think it was next. No, they did it. They did it later. I don't believe it was the same season.
Okay.
The one they did do during the season though. Phoenix Force.
So. OG Phoenix Force, we're saying for the record, when it was a 5-6, it was D tier in the very beginning.
Yeah.
Now it's not D tier, but it honestly felt worse than Nimrod. I might be crazy, but I think
it's worse than Nimrod, than OG Nimrod?
OG Phoenix Force at a 5-6.
God, they're both so bad. I don't know if I want to say it's definitely worse, but yeah, it was bad. All right, you know what?
But
yeah, I could see it going either way there. They were both so bad. This is the only one that hasn't gotten. This is another one that hasn't gotten changed though, and I don't. What do you think about Dakin, whatever. I feel like we still don't know how to say his name to this date.
He also felt bad.
I disagree. I think he felt completely fine. He was not good nor bad. I think he was worse than Daredevil.
He's not B tier though.
I think he's worse than Daredevil, better than Black Panther.
He's Black Panther with more steps.
He was, but it's also cheaper, and that's a big difference.
But like, you only have to play Black Panther to get him to 8 power. To play Toxin, you also had to discard the shard or destroy the shard. You had to build a deck around being able to get Toxin to his 8 power, whereas Black Panther, you just don't play him on a Cosmo lane.
Dang, that's fair. I could see that, yeah. By the way, I think this was also the introduction of Spotlight Caches. I think it's back in season is the first.
Phoenix Force, what season was?
Phoenix Force of season. That was
yeah, because the first Spotlight.
Oh yeah, because you had Jean Grey.
Jean Grey.
Yeah, you're right about that. Okay, no,
Jean Grey, Null, and Tribunal.
No, that makes sense. Then we have one of the cards that I think is going to be just overtaking. Yeah, I mean, this is Loki was insane. Mm-hmm. So when I'm pulling, I've got every single change here because Snap.fan shows every single change that's ever happened to a card. Yep. This is the only one that made me change the size of the whole window because this card has never found a good place. And I don't even know if it's good where it is now. Maybe it's okay. But at OG, let's not forget what an OG was. OG Loki was a 3-cost 5-power card. On reveal, replace your hand with cards from your opponent's starting deck. Give them -1 cost.
And it worked with Quinjet.
And it worked with Quinjet. And it worked with Collector. And they just refused to nerf him for so long.
Yep.
He came out on September of last year and didn't get nerfed until around Halloween next month. And that Halloween nerf still wasn't enough, and they had to nerf him again. And they keep hitting this card. I don't know. Yeah, this is one of the. Oh my gosh! You know what sounds weird though? I kind of feel like the Zabu Surfer method or meta was more oppressive because we didn't have as many cards. As much as Loki was annoying as hell to deal with, I think due to how few cards we had with Loki, between these other ones, it felt like it was just run those or lose pretty much. And I think Loki may have been better. Loki may have been worse than those. Still S tier. And your face disagrees with me entirely, and I love that. But I'm kind of there. Tell me why I'm wrong.
The difference was like with Surfer and Zabu, people were still playing other things, and there was a large variety of shells when it came to like Zabu and Surfer. When it was Loki, it was just the same mirror game after game after game, especially like during just the weekend, during Hot Location, during whatever. Oh, these new cards came out with Loki. And then now we also have Eliath with Loki. Now we also have Mobius with Loki.
Can we talk about how much of a miss it was to start? I remember that month, and one of the things I could not shut up about enough that month was I think they botched the order release of those cards so heavily. Those cards should have been released in an entirely different order.
Yep.
Instead, what is it? We started with Mobius, or we started with Eliath, one of those, right? I don't know. It should have been.
We started with Ravonna, then it was Mobius, then it was Eliath.
Yeah, was it only 3?
Yeah, they didn't start doing 4 until December with Shaw.
That makes sense. Okay, yeah.
I think.
Yeah, so that was that was a rough one. All right, I'll concede to him being the best one, especially considering he's been hit so many times. But honestly, Miss Marvel.
So, her season, Miss Marvel, was incredible because it was during a lockdown meta with Professor X. You only had to have one card in the lane to be able to get the Miss Marvel buff. She was incredible. I think when it just comparable to other cards on this list, I think she might be above Hitmonkey, actually.
I think she's going to be at the bottom of S.
I think she's the bottom of S for.
I think she's bottom of S. I don't know if we're gonna have a card that's gonna be as broken as she is.
Okay.
Or she was, but I do think she was good. She's right there in the middle. But so by the way, before everyone yells at me, so Loki was in September, and I got it incorrect. Actually, Miss Marvel is in November. In between those, we had Elsa Bloodstone. Now here's the fun fact I just realized, and we'll talk about this. Yeah, I think that's great to play for it. Top of A tier. So Elsa originally was let me make sure I have this correct here. Elsa was originally a 2/2 that gave +3 to any location.
Yeah, that.
Now here's something I just noticed when I was looking through all these changes. They nerfed her same season that she came out. Yep. She came out in October and then was nerfed end of that month. Is there a chance that we see or Agent Venom get changed this month? Maybe the hope. Maybe the hope's gonna be a glimmer. Maybe. Nope. Well, who knows? But yeah. So she was incredibly good. I don't know. I played a lot of bounce, so I enjoyed that. But what were your thoughts on that meta?
This was bounce and slam. Like Kitty Pryde had just, I think, come back into the game or something too. And it was
true.
Able to get +3. This is like when they nerfed Surfer because it was +3. They're like, oh, what if we just release a card that also gets +3? Like Shuri Kitty was popping. Like it was a great time. This card was incredible. I think we have her above Hitmonkey here too, just because of flexibility. Like there were so many different shells and so many different archetypes that kind of just benefited from Elsa, opposed to just like a Hitmonkey kind of slam thing. That just felt incredible.
No, I agree with that entirely. I think it's a very fair description. We got Shaw next. Sebastian Shaw, and he hasn't changed. 3/4 when this card permanently gains power, gain +2 more power wherever this is. I know where I want this card. Where do you think it goes?
So it is pretty niche, in the sense you would think more Surfer or just hand buff. Like I think I like him either top of B or low A. I don't think he's S tier.
Wow. Okay. As someone who plays a lot of hand buff, I was gonna say bottom of B.
I think just for what he did with the stuff we had out there, I might put him above MODOK.
I'd be willing to set that. The idea that he's better than Nebula. Yeah. Nebula also is a 1 cost. I don't think that's. I think he's fair. Better than MODOK. Worse than Nebula.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then next we had Scar. Scar hasn't changed again. 6 cost, 11 power. Costs 2 less for each of your cards that has 10 or more power.
During his time, when there wasn't as many like the deck building stuff we have now, Scar felt more like a C tier card during his season. Now he's better, but thinking about it, like Cole Obsidian was not out yet. Atuma doesn't have the stuff he has now. Sasquatch wasn't out yet. I might put him below Ghost Spider in.
I disagree. No, I think Move was.
You think Ghost Spider had it rougher than started?
I think you could say I think he's better than Dakin, and that's it. I think Dakin. Okay. If you're going to talk between those two, I think Dakin was right. You have this whole multi-step process. Scar, even if you just hit it once, like a singular card, again, it's still a 4/11.
Also,
so I think
Crossbones was not 10 power yet.
Crossbones wasn't. Yeah, there was less. I still think Scar was better there, and I think it's. I think it wasn't good. I'm not, because again, I don't think Dakin was. Black Panther wasn't great there either. But I do think if we're in top of the options, even just the fact that he could be a 4/11 made him just feel okay. Not ever anything that was broken, and now we have more things that are good with it. But I think back then, I think it's right there. I think where we have it, I like that.
Okay.
We have now, I think, God, we may even need to add an F tier for Black Swan.
We can add F tier.
You want to add an F tier? Add a row below for F.
Okay.
What is it? Yeah.
This is D. We got to go back to D, and this is going to be orange. And then this is going to be F, and we're going to make this gray.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that. Yeah. I think we talk about F tier. For what it's worth, I think. Can we rearrange real quick? I think you put Nimrod, Phoenix Force, and Nick Fury down, and then it goes. What is it? And then I think Ghost Spider goes to D.
Top of D.
Yeah, top of D. I think that's better. And I know it's not just for like trying to have evenness, whatever. I actually just do think simply, I could see Dak in there too. I don't think Scar goes down, but I do think this is.
I'm thinking Blob also came out. Like
Blob was out then,
before,
yeah.
So
it also worked. Yeah. And Thanos was popular, right? So it also I think Mockingbird's in the game too. No, Mockingbird's not out yet. Nope. Nope. But anyway, sorry. Black Swan, originally a 3 cost high power card, on reveal until the end of your next turn. Your 1 cost cards cost 0. I think this is, I'm going to say better than Nick Fury, and that's it.
Okay. Because he was 5/7.
He was a 5/7.
Yeah.
Maybe it was better back in the beta. Maybe we don't know that. But at least from my perspective, if I look at a 5/7 card, that seems horrible. And Black Swan sucked as well.
Yep.
And I think Black Swan is barely good now. And that's it.
Yeah.
Then we have Hope Summers.
Hope Summers.
I think she's better than Nebula. I was gonna say bottom of A tier.
Do you like her more than Wave?
Again, I'm saying I don't have the knowledge of exactly what was going on inside of the beta, but I do think that I think I like her better.
More than Hitmonkey.
No, I don't say better than Hitmonkey. I think Hitmonkey, she never had to get nerfed.
That's true.
Hitmonkey did.
Well, she had to get nerfed before she came out because it was +2 energy. Imagine that. That would have been.
Yeah, thank God we're not talking about the Datamine versions, right? Technically, there's a Datamine version of Loki where his ability was never going to give you up. Because they were having fun with the abilities around then. Yep. But that was March of this year, by the way. So we're getting closer because next was Baron Zemo. I think Baron Zemo is, I want to say better than MODOK. His season it was mill, and it introduced a new archetype, and I think it was well balanced. It's not a good card, but I think it was a different archetype and a different thing, and I think I've said it before, I think Baron Zemo was one of the best season pass cards. It introduced a new archetype, introduced a new thing. It's not good, so maybe it's lower because of that, but I do think that it was incredibly. It was really interesting to be able to mess with that card.
Yeah, I think like Zemo, Hitmonkey, and like Surfer are 3 cards that like enabled new archetypes. Even Scar, I mean, looking at it now, and like Phoenix Force looking at it now in hindsight after
Ghost Spider now.
Yeah, they like
even Miss Marvel, honestly, right? And then Loki was an archetype on its own as well, right? There was a bunch of that stuff. So, yeah. I think those are the best cards, the ones that enable new archetypes, the ones that legitimately, for season pass cards, the ones that can't be replaced, but also hopefully aren't broken.
Yes.
And I think Blink was the next card that we had here, and I think she did a good job with that.
I'm going to put her above MODOK. I think there's an argument to put her below Nebula.
I think that's a better place. I think she's better than Baron Zemo.
Yeah. I think she's better than Shaw. Flexible.
Yeah, I think she's better than Shaw.
What she does is really solid. It's kind of crazy, but nothing like, oh, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. She also was originally a 5.6, and they gave her a 5.7.
Yeah.
But I think
so. I like it. I like this card. Actually, she was a 5.7. She was a 3-1, then went to a 5.7, then to 5.6, then 5.7, and that's all Datamine stuff. But as released, it was 5.7, and I think that's great.
Oh yeah, before the season started, she went to 5.7. That's what it was.
Yep. So I think she's solid. Gilgamesh I feel like he's top of D tier, or maybe bottom of C. I don't know, one of those two. If we want to.
I think he's still. Oh, I think he's a C tier. He got 1 extra power, and then everyone went crazy using him in Zoo. But I think people just weren't using him enough in Zoo, or just the meta shifted.
I think Scar was better than him.
You think Scar was better?
Scar saw more use when he was originally released because Gilgamesh had to get buffed mid-season, literally 2 weeks after. Not even 2. The card had not been out for 2 weeks before it got buffed.
That's fair.
And I think
was in a bad spot too for that.
The meta's in a bad spot as well. But I think again we're talking about just initially, right?
Yeah.
I could see. I don't know if we're saying the initial season, right? If we're saying the whole season, maybe there's a chance that the card could be better. But I think I like the argument of as release.
Yeah.
I think this is where he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we go to a really fun card. I think the Gwenpool.
I think Gwenpool is B tier above Shaw and Zemo.
I think she's better than Nebula, but still top of beer.
She's probably top of. Actually, I think she's the unknown factor. She's top of B tier. I like it actually.
Yeah, I think she's. I love it. It doesn't have to be perfectly balanced, right? But I love the way that felt. Like she was a really fun card. She felt like she had a lot of good uses, and I think people were questioning like, "Hey, is this card even going to be good?" But again, she was a 4/12. Really fun. I think it's a simple put, right? She was just really fun.
Yeah, very fun, and it's the whole aspect of what cards actually did just get the buff from Gwenpool. Like you have to calculate the math behind all of that too, going into it.
Yeah. No, she was actually just a blast of a card. And then we had another banger. Yeah. Where does Kate go, do you think?
Kate's above. I think she's above Hope in A.
I was gonna say below Hope, so I'm down to agree to above, but yeah, I think she was Hope was Kate was like, or here's the thing, I think Hope dominated the meta, and I don't know if Kate dominated the meta her season.
Well, if you look at the other cards that came out her season, like statistically, they all performed pretty poorly. Like,
okay.
I mean, literally, it's been going downhill multiple seasons which were the next card especially. It's really bad. But I think the unknown aspect with Kate Bishop, Acid Arrow is like top 3 1-drop in the game. Like that just itself. Do they have the Acid Arrow? Do I need to clog this lane now so I don't have this -2 power on the side of the board? Whereas Hope Summers, you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna get hit with a Goliath or I'm gonna get hit with a huge combo here. But like, I don't know. There's something about just the unpredictability of some of these like RNG cards that kind of just like puts them over, like with Gwenpool kind of thing.
Sure. This is already our longest yap ever, so I'm willing to concede. So Symbiote Spider-Man, the introduction of a brand new ability, Activate. I want to say bottom of D. It was the card had a massive play rate and still sucked. Like it sucked, but it was played a lot. So I think because people actually still enjoyed it and people still tried to do it, I think I want to say D, but it still incredibly was bad. I don't think it goes that high. Hell no. Hell. I think it was still bad. I think it was one of the worst balanced cards because of Activate. And we talked about that previously on an episode of Yap.
Yep.
Agent Venom. Where are you thinking?
I'm going to put him above Wave in A tier.
I think you put him above Kate in A tier.
Above Kate in A tier. Just because what he enables, making sure every card gets 4 power.
Exactly. It's insane.
Okay.
I think he's just such a good card. And so, yeah. And so these are all the cards we've actually played with. And now Surtur's the only one we're guessing here. But Surtur, so if you guys do not know what Surtur does, in the most recent patch, he was updated again. He is a 3-cost 5-power card that says after you play a card with 10 plus power, this gains plus 3 power. So where are you thinking Surtur is going to be? This is the only one we're guessing, right? We're predicting where we can kind of go with the beta ones we were kind of guessing too, but we're guessing where Surtur is going to go. What are you thinking here?
So it's a Big Dumb Idiots card.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking you can't Shang-Chi every lane, but you can Shadow King and Shang-Chi on final turn. But I think this could be a fringe B tier, top of C tier kind of card.
I was thinking B, yeah. I kind of think this is prediction, but I kind of like the B. Maybe it is top. I don't know. I like bottom B, top of C. I feel like I want to give more hope because I feel like it's gonna be better. To say it's C tier feels incorrect. I think B is a better place for it to be. Maybe it's higher, maybe it's, but like, I think it's gonna, again, it's one that also is similar to the way Thena works, right? Where you can place like a Cosmo there and it will still work because the card can be anywhere and it doesn't matter.
And it works with the Asgard package. So like if Thor and Beta Ray Bill both get to 10 power, he gets to,
I don't
or is it
think
when
so.
It's played, or is it when
it's after you play a card with 10 plus power? So it's more of like a Scar
so
build.
it is just a Big Dumb Idiots thing. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a Scar thing, or maybe like move bounce if you try to do something like that. I don't know. We can figure that's a future conversation, future Yap topic.
Yeah, token idiots. But.
Yeah, I think in general, I think this is going to be I think that's where it is. This is So there's a lot of points here. Maybe some of the stuff could be shoved around. I don't know, but this is what is it? You want to control minus just so it can all be on screen. But this is overall our tier list of where we think every single season pass card was when it was released. Let us know what you think. We'll have a link to this specific tier in the description of the video. It's also going to be up on our Twitter for at Marvel Yapcast. Let us know what y'all think of it, because I really, what is it? I think this is an interesting one. I don't know which one's best, about this stuff. And I kind of second guess some of this stuff, but in general, it's wild to see the differences in the season passes. I don't know. Do you think they've done a good job with season pass card balance? Looking at this,
it feels like every other season or every 3 seasons there is an OP card. But I think if you look at that statistically, like that's what 25% of the month it's a OP card, which isn't too bad. 25% of the year, not month. That's nothing. I think they've done a pretty good job balancing, besides Loki, which took too long. But most of these cards, either they got the tweak they needed to make them better, nothing crazy. But I think they did okay.
Yeah, I think in general, they've done a good job. And I think it's going to be, if they don't nerf Agent Venom this like OTA, I think my opinion is going to go down worse. But in general, I do think, for the most part, they've hit the nail that they wanted to hit with the season pass cards.
Yeah,
I think they want every single card to be playable. I think that's a very difficult expectation to go for. And so you'll see cards that are more expensive or whatever. But I do know there are people who say, hey, is this season pass card worth it for the season? Because that's the only reason why they would buy the season pass. Even if it is technically the best value you can get in the game, it is the only reason why they will buy it. So I do think having these different, having some cards be better and worse. I get it. They probably want them to lean on the better side.
Yeah.
But I think, honestly, the B tier of cards maybe, I feel like maybe the A tier, I don't know. It's maybe like half of that. I don't know. It's kind of weird there. But still, I think that these cards are very good for what they do. And I think if they keep hitting this nail where they do something that no other card does, I think that will be the best place for these cards to exist, where we get a Gwenpool, where we get a Nebula, where we get a Baron Zemo, where we get something that just does something for an archetype, that does something or makes a new archetype that you can't do otherwise. That's what I love.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm liking the innovation when it's coming to new cards, or it's like, okay, let's add this to a shell that's been struggling right now or doesn't have that right piece. Here is that right piece for it, and let's actually see what happens. Does it change the meta at all? Or are people going to still play the same thing? Which is why we have the OTAs to kind of help shake things up too, and patches to like readjust cards as well. But no, I think they've done a pretty good job, and I think this is our longest yap ever. So how are you feeling, Dance? Where can we find your beautiful face?
I'm over at twitch.tv/notmydance, and basically twitter.com/notmydance. If you can pretend like my YouTube exists, school is eventually not going to be a thing, so I can focus on that more. But yeah, speaking of liking, don't forget to like, comment on this video. And where are people finding you other than, let's imagine that we're in debt, that they're listening to this and don't know about your YouTube channel? Where should they be finding you?
You can watch this live and see our facial reactions to each other as we were pulling apart this tier list here on YouTube at youtube.com/Tucker, twitch.tv/Tucker, Twitter/X/Tucker, or TikTok under Tucker as well. That is TUCCRR. But
they're under our names, by the way, in case you guys don't know who we are. Hi, that's Tucker over there. I'm Not My Dance. It says so underneath. It's right. You see, it's right here. It says our names are there, so that's who we are. It should be pretty obvious. But no, it's good. Thank you. It was a fun one.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Until the next time, you guys stay safe. God bless, and laters.